I want an organic pest control service. Hey, are you getting calls requesting natural and organic pest control services? We're going to discuss it on this edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek Podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek Podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business. Hey, welcome to another edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. This is Frank Hernandez, your Pest Geek. I want to talk to you this week about organic pest control services, and they're becoming way popular, and I'm getting more and more calls for people wanting natural and organic pest control services. And a lot of it has to do with our marketing, where we are looking at doing environmentally responsible pest control, greener pest control, and all that. And I get a lot of calls. And this week, I wanted to give a shout out to Steve Barrow of Barrow's Pest Control in Newbury Park, California. He liked the podcast on Facebook. And if you are listening to the podcast, hey, go over to Facebook and check out at Pest Geek Podcast and look us up and give us a like if you like the podcast. Also, you can find us on Twitter at Pest Geek Podcast on Twitter and on our website at pestgeekpodcast.com. And we are all over the web. So we have different news sources and things that we put out that are very interesting to a lot of people. Depending on the pest control field that you're in, you're going to find a lot of interesting things on Facebook, on Twitter, and on website. And I don't know what part of the country you're in, but we're here in sunny South Florida, which sometimes in the summer it feels like an oxymoron because we get a ton of rain. And last week, we just had so much rain from a little tropical storm that didn't develop into anything, but just dumped a ton of rain all week on it. I mean, I would get up in the morning, pouring. I look at the radar. Everywhere is cloud coverage and rain just about everywhere we service. So I said, well, wait it out and go out, wait a couple hours and just go out because we can't really do anything in downpours. It's not like it's just drizzling here or we're going to be able to plan for rain in an hour. You're all of a sudden here. So we drive out to where we're going and the rain is following us the whole way there, surrounds us. I'm like, we can't really, can't you, dude, just do it anyway. And, I'm going to be with a steel rod in my hand loaded with water in a backpack. And, we're going to be treating while we hear thundering and lightning, a mile away. So no, we pretty much were rained out about 3/4 of the week, last week. And, hopefully this week it'll be much better so we can catch up. We're playing catch up this week. And it was just that way. And a lot of our services are we've designed in a way, especially in the ornamental part, that they are weatherproof. But again, you still have to have not the downpour to be able to do the applications and do the services. And when it's thundering and lightning, my policy is I'm not out there. And that's just it. I'm not going to be out there taking a chance getting hit by lightning with a, if you've got a stainless steel B&G sprayer and it's thundering, you need to drop it. It's got metal and water, so it's not a good idea to be doing that. But special shout out to Steve Barrow of Barrow's Pest Control in Newbury Park, California. And this weekend, my father-in-law asked me, and my mother-in-law says, "Can you make your barbecue ribs?" And anytime they ask me to make barbecue ribs, it's like, oh no, this is like waking up at 5 a.m. to get it done. And I said, I'll do the barbecue ribs, but I'm not waking up at 5 a.m. It's going to be an early dinner. And the reason for it is, well, my barbecue ribs take about 6 hours to smoke. And I make them smoked. I don't grill them. And I'll rub them the night before with my own rub that I make. I make a brown sugar rub, dark brown sugar, and I use garlic and onion powder and pepper and just my own blend that I make at home, and then I'll rub it down, let it sit overnight with that, and then stick them on the smoker. And you're feeding that smoker. It's a tiny little smoker. It's not that big. You can do probably about 15 pounds of ribs in there, and you're feeding that smoker constantly with wood for about 6 hours, and then you get to enjoy it. And everybody just gobbles it down in 30 minutes. It makes me think, geez, I just spent 6 hours making this meal, and you guys inhaled it. So it just reminds me of a lot about what I want to talk about today, which is I get a lot of calls from people asking for natural and organics. And we're going to do it in two parts. We're going to discuss the natural pest control for residential, but then we're going to talk about organic gardening in another edition. We're going to talk about organic gardening and part of organic ornamental pest control. And is it feasible and is it doable? And the answer is both yes and no. And I'll explain. When I get a call from somebody wanting a natural pest control or organic pest control, my initial, and I do a ton of consulting on the phone. I don't do hardly any more. A lot of people do. A lot of companies do. In Miami, I've learned not to do an inspection for every single problem. I'm very selective of what I will have to go out and do an inspection for. And the reason is that most of the time I can close 75 to 90% of the phone calls we get on the phone, because I do consulting on the phone. And the way I do is I rather spend 20 minutes on the phone with you patiently than to drive half an hour and then spend 20 to 30 minutes there. So I got an hour invested, which I don't have. And I don't need to solve many of your problems. And what I do is, what I figure is most people are appreciative of the fact that I will spend 20 minutes with them on the phone and not be in any hurry to ask for an appointment or close them, and say, get all their questions answered and then ask for the sale. And I think that might be, if you're a single person operator, to learn to do that. And this goes back to my days in doing networks and doing a lot of support services over the phone with store managers and things like that, and being able to take care of their problems and guide them through process. And I just have this ability to guide people through a process to help them and get what they want to get. But so I do a lot of consulting. One of the most important words you need to learn in your vocabulary when you're consulting is why. You need to ask the caller or the person. I usually ask, why are you wanting a natural and organic pest control? And that is vital to understanding why the customer wants this. What they are looking for, the most common reply is, I want you to come and spray a natural product. In other words, they're looking to replace their traditional pest control business or pest control company from a traditional synthetic pesticide to a natural spray. And what they fail to understand is that is not pest control. And to some people in this industry, that is pest control. But that's not pest control. That's spraying. And spraying is not synonymous with control. It doesn't mean that you're going to get control because you're spraying a natural product. And I have this ability to listen to you, but for some reason I have this incredible ability also to bring you down to earth very quickly and burst your bubble. And my wife tells me all the time, I come to you with something and you immediately bring me down to earth and you burst my bubble. And because people don't realize half of the time what they're asking for. Here's what happens. They went online and they did a Google search for natural pest control. And they came across a couple of blogs and a couple of companies that sell natural products like cedar oil. Or they sell what a blogger is doing is he talks about, how chemicals are killing everybody and how there are natural solutions to solve all of these problems. And what they fail to realize is that person on the other side of that blog has never, ever performed a pest control service in his life. He's never had to go in and understand German cockroach biology. He doesn't understand chemistry. He doesn't understand biology. He's a writer. He's a very good writer. He's a very convincing writer. And he's usually an affiliate marketer for that product and that he's pushing, no matter what product he has on his blog. So they'll read this and they'll say, yeah, I read the blog on so-and-so and, he's got a natural pest control blog and you can solve this problem. I like for him to explain to me and I like to take him by the hand in a multi-unit dwelling in apartment buildings where there's 300 to 1,000 apartments. And then I want him to actually show me how he's going to control that problem. That's the reality of where we live. We live in an age where perception is reality and everybody is in a hurry. We live in an age of people don't understand these biological products, a lot of them, how they work, that natural products and baiting and all this is very slow, that it's not quick. It isn't grilling. That's my point with the barbecue. There's a difference between grilling a steak 6 minutes on each side at 1,500 degrees and a barbecue. It's totally different. And we live in an age of instant access. We don't want to wait. We want to sign into a website and get instant access. We want instant downloads. We want instant gratification on Facebook. There's instant food available to us. There's instant everything. We live in an instant society. And as this society becomes more instant, what they're looking for and they're wanting then the alternative of a natural something, but they really don't understand what it is that it takes to control that problem. And then so what I do is I say, okay, why is it that you want it? We want a natural product. Well, the reason is they either have a new baby. This is the common ones, okay? They either have a new baby, they got a new puppy, or grandma is home and grandma is sick. There's serious, and what they're doing now is they've replaced all of their cleaners with these natural cleaners, and they're wanting to replace their pest control service with a natural service because they don't want to use chemicals in the house anymore. They don't realize that they still have another 1,000 chemicals in their home that they have to deal with. Like, when was the last time you saw natural hairspray? It's not. It's a chemical. All the plastics in your house, everything is from a chemical. Your house is filled with thousands of chemicals that you don't realize. So the idea is usually a knee-jerk reaction idea that they want control. And then what I have to do is I explain to them how it is that I ask them this question. This is, think about this for a minute. Have you ever thought and stopped for a moment how a hospital surgical room remains sterile, free of contamination of the pest and the diseases they spread, and from the contamination of chemical pesticides at the same time? And what it is get them to think for a moment of what it is they're asking, get over that euphoria that they're calling about, and actually think. And I said, do hospitals use natural and organic products? No. They use biological products mostly, and chemical products that have a very low toxicity for humans. And what people don't understand is that allergies and allergic reactions and toxicity is two different things. I mean, and I don't expect customers to understand this. I really don't. I don't expect them to know this. I expect me to be the educator here and be the person that takes them by the hand and shows them what it is that they really have to do. And I explain to them that all an organic product is, it has a carbon compound and a carbon atom, a carbon in it, because all living matter has carbon in it. That's it. Now, go to the store and go buy a can of peanuts. They're natural and they say they're organic. But if you are allergic to peanuts, you will go into anaphylactic shock. You'll need your EpiPen. And if you don't have one, you will probably die. And allergies and the most problems that people have in the home are allergies. They're not having acute toxicity from these products. They're having allergies. And what people don't understand is if I put a mint product or I put a natural product or cedar, you can still have an allergic reaction. The product says do not let it fall on your skin, because you can have an allergic reaction to this product. What makes it eco-friendly is the fact that it doesn't kill the birds. It doesn't kill the bees. It doesn't kill the other organisms in the environment. They actually, by putting some of these products into your soil, improves your soil biology. But they're not concerned about the ecology. They are concerned about the air quality in their home, and they're concerned about allergic reactions, and they're concerned about how it's going to affect the puppy. They're not concerned about the environment. Most people are not. I mean, they say, well, we don't want to hurt the environment, but when it comes down to it, we will choose to hurt the environment to solve and ease our problem. That's the reality of how human beings are. You know, we want stuff made in America, but we will go to Walmart and buy the cheapest product made in China because it's the cheapest. I mean, that's the problem that we have in this country, that we don't really understand what it is that it takes to do what it really want to do and get that accomplished. And a lot of people are wanting, there's a lot of companies out there selling online products that are natural. And they work. I'm not saying they don't work. I'm just saying, when you got a German roach infestation in your house, I don't know how a cedar oil is going to solve that problem. I haven't figured it out yet. I mean, maybe I need to do a lot more trials to figure this out. Okay? But the way that hospitals, and then I explained to them the way that hospitals solve this problem is by preventing the pest from the outside and excluding them from the property first. And when what you have to do is, how many holes are on your property? We go through the whole process of how we treat their property and the products that we apply. I had a customer call me, this was a couple of months back, and wanted a natural pest control, just the same way people describe. I want a natural pest control. And I asked him, why do you want to do it? And he says, well, my mother is very ill. She's got respiratory problems. She's got emphysema, and she's walking around with a pump because she can't breathe on her own. And I don't want anything in this house. I mean, they literally tore out all the old cabinets because they put her into this new apartment that they own, and they redid the entire unit and the paint, and they did everything all new and set it up for grandma. And I said, you have American roaches due to all this, and there were German roaches here before you did all this remodel. This is the process we have to go through. We have to pretty much exclude, and you see they did all this construction work, but they left all these holes. And these holes lead to the outside, and you're going to get, there's mulch out there, and there's debris, and there's fallen leaves, and you're going to get all this stuff in the house. You need to seal all this off. We can do that for you as part of our exclusion service. Of course, we charge for that, and it's part of our service. But when people think, well, you know, why can't you use a product to eliminate the problem? It's because we're dealing with it after the fact. You want to prevent the insect from coming in because you don't want to have to use a chemical, whether it's natural or organic. It doesn't really matter. Or synthetic. You want to reduce the amount of chemical you use to control the problem, and it requires work. It requires that we seal off all this. Then I said, now I noticed there's no furniture here, and she's going to be moving in. And I actually, this was a multi-unit dwelling, I actually had to go in and inspect. I do not give prices over the phone for multi-unit dwellings because there's so many inherent problems. The guy next to that unit infested with German roaches. Because the other guy I lived here 14 years, I never had German roaches. It wasn't until they destroyed everything in that apartment that I got them. Well, obviously it was there before, but they had to go somewhere else before they were living in the other place. And I said, I have to use gel baits, and I have to put them. It says, I don't want to use any of those products because I read it has imidacloprid, and it has this, and it has fipronil. And she did a lot of work understanding what was in those products before she called people around. And she got a lot of information. She was well educated on what all these products were. And I said, the only product that I can put here that is natural, that's going to help control the American roaches, is a boric acid based product like Entice 10. It's not going to get rid of your German problem if you have a German problem here. And I inspected, identified all these cabinets were new, everything was there. So we're doing this whole process, and she doesn't want any of the powder on the floor. She doesn't want anything on the counter. So I couldn't do dusting because obviously that person has a respiratory problem, and they didn't want to do dusting. They didn't want to do the gel baiting because it had toxic chemicals in it. So we finally agreed that all we can use was boric acid bait. But if you had a German roach problem, we weren't going to be able to control it. I noticed there were no boxes that says, when you move here, please make sure you do not go to the supermarket to go get boxes to move. The boxes were already packed. That's exactly where they had gotten them from, and they were in her house. They were going to move already. Because you will, most of the time, after you move, you will experience a German roach problem. Sure enough, boxes were in. I said, if you do bring in those boxes, you unpack everything immediately and throw those boxes out immediately. Do not leave them in the house. I go back 3 weeks later. House is full of boxes. Boxes everywhere. I look down at the floor, look around the boxes. I find German roaches. And I said, we're not going to be able to solve this problem for you because you have to be able to do the things that keep the pests out. The organic service isn't going to solve this problem. And that is the basic problem that people have with wanting natural service. They want to replace the chemical they are now using with another chemical, but they do not want to correct the practices and the problems that led up to that. They don't understand what the owner or the manager have procedures at a hospital, how they keep things clean. They don't understand that in a commercial kitchen, maybe at a Marriott hotel, how they have policies and procedures to keep everything clean and how to exclude and how to not leave the doors open. And if you're going to throw out boxes, you throw them out all at once very quickly. You do not leave product. And they have all these procedures because they understand integrated pest management, and they have developed these procedures over time to be able to exclude pests from the property, keep them out, and not have conditions that are conducive to the problem. So here you are worrying about the chemical that's going to go in there, not understanding that the allergens from the excrement from that roach has a load of 700 million bacteria, 7 million bacteria in the fecal matter, and that the roach can carry 14 million bacteria in them with about 50 different pathogens that can be on there that can cause respiratory problems. You see? And that is the major problem with people looking, because they're not willing to do the work or the changes that are required in their habits to be able to use products that are less toxic and exclude the pest. And I think that's where our job becomes very difficult, and our job for the future as society becomes faster and faster. You know, we're a society that is loaded up on calories but are nutrient deficient. And it's the same thing. It's because of our habits, of the way we live, that makes people want to just look for an instant solution or do an instant replacement, when it's kind of the same thing. There's no difference between exercising and losing weight. I'm going to go on a diet. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to change the food. And 2 weeks later, you're still back to your habits again, because it's habits that cause this problem. It's the ignorance of not knowing what actually happens. And that is our biggest challenge. And then on the next podcast, I'm going to discuss how we would be able to do organic or natural pest control and organic gardening. So stay tuned to that podcast, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being here this week. I look forward to talking to you the next time. Take care. Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.